God of War is a game I have absolutely no intention to buy despite the fact that everyone keeps telling me to. Not being the kind of gamer who plays games for graphics or as a feeble attempt to participate in some unrelated activity since they could never do it in real life, I thought God of War would be a pointless kill-everything game with much blood, gore, and other things that I personally don't care for. The game spews testosterone in a way that nothing should have a right to, so you can imagine my surprise when I discovered that the story was actually not that bad for a game where every single button is used to eviscerate the closest object. You play as Kratos, a psychotic kill-crazy Spartan, whose goal is to kill his old master Ares, the even more psychotic and kill-crazy god of war. Hence the title, I guess. Kratos receives the quest after an epic battle with the Hydra, which I will suspend some disbelief on since Heracles killed it, and wants the visions of his brutal past to go away if he saves Athens from Ares. So off he goes on a murderous quest to find Pandora's box, which apparently has the power to kill a god. He must travel to Athens to seek the Athenian oracle, then go to the Desert of Lost Souls, find Kronos, who was forced to wander the desert with the temple to Pandora chained to his back, go through the various traps of the temple and solve puzzles just so he can get to the box. Upon attaining the box, which is about as tall as a human, he is killed by Ares, goes to the underworld, fights his way out, and in a great climactic battle defeats Ares. Along the way, he slays hundreds of Minotaur, Gorgon, weird skeletons with skin, and other beasts, as well as killing humans who he doesn't need. The man has absolutely no respect for human life at all, which is why I'm rather amused by the fact that the developers try to humanize him by making him go on a never-ending quest for absolution for murdering his wife and daughter in a bloody rage. Anyway, once he actually completes the quest and kills Ares, the gods say, "Whoops, we can forgive you, but that doesn't do crap because the memories will not go away." Whereupon Kratos attempts to commit suicide by flinging himself off the highest mountain in Greece. But, since there's now an empty throne on Olympus, the gods decide to give Kratos the throne of the god of war and promote him to god status. I could just imagine that conversation. Hey, let's give the psychotic man we just screwed over the power of the god of war. This won't backfire in the slightest. I will briefly pause here because this is where the first God of War game ends. So far, we have determined that human life is worthless, the ends justify the means, absolution is impossible, and whatever gods there are useless self-serving morons who don't care about humanity. Which, if you follow the Greek mythology, is rather accurate for them. Oh, wait, it gets better! What would you say if I told you that during Gal 1, Kratos was the closest to being human? "Ha," you would reply, "Brendan, you slithy man, how could Kratos get any worse?" Well, I would counter, let's look at God of War 2 and 3, since they are technically one game broken up by a 3-year and 3-day gap. Kratos is the new god of war and consequently inherited Ares' bloodlust. Considering that this is the guy who, as a mortal, would kill Minotaur by knocking them over with a headbutt and force-feeding his sword to them, you can imagine how painful and bad this will be, especially when he has all of Sparta helping him out in his domination of Greece. Anyway, Zeus tricks him into channeling all of his god power, which manifests into armor for some reason, into the Blade of Olympus, which Zeus uses to kill Kratos after he fights the Colossus of Rhodes. He dies again, goes to Hades again, and fights his way out with the help of the Titans, who seem to be outside of time while being inside of time but can communicate through time. Yeah. Anyway, God tells him to go find the Sisters of Fate, since only they can control his destiny and allow him to jump through to the point where Zeus betrays Kratos because only then is Zeus vulnerable. So you go on another epic quest, continuing to fight the evil minions of the Fates, as well as heroes such as Theseus, who is a headstrong git, Icarus, who sounds like a demented combination between Gollum and Scooby-Doo, and, alas, Perseus. I say alas to this statement because Perseus is the only Greek hero I actually liked. Originally, he wasn't an obnoxious snotbag, but in the game he is portrayed as a self-righteous juvenile narcissist, which is a different story altogether. Anyway, Kratos finds the Fates and uses his amazing people skills to get what he wants by shoving various sharp implements through their faces. He gets control of the Fates' loom, jumps back in time, and in a climactic battle with Zeus, almost kills him. But just before you succeed, Athena intervenes, sacrificing herself to save Zeus, and in a James L. Jones, "I am your father" routine, reveals to Kratos that Zeus is his daddy, and he is compelled to try to kill him. She begs him not to, but naturally he refuses, and goes back in time to fetch the Titans, where he brings them back to his time in order to storm Olympus. Thus ends God of War 2 and begins God of War 3. Gaia reveals that you were only a mean to help the Titans win the Great War and betrays you, letting you die and go to Hades again. You meet Athena's ghost, who has gone to a higher state of existence, which probably just means she's green and has a superiority complex. Kratos is slightly suspicious of her, but after she gives him weapons, he believes her. Wow, how shallow! Anyway, he fights his way out of Hades again, killing the god of death as he goes. Then proceeds to go on another quest to find Pandora so she can sacrifice herself to let Kratos open her box again. Along the way, he slaughters the entire pantheon of gods in cruel and unusual ways, except for Aphrodite for obvious reasons. This causes major problems for humanity, because after he kills Poseidon by poking out his eyes with his thumbs and breaking his neck, the seas rise, swallowing up a majority of the land, and after he rips off Helios' head to use as his personal flashlight, the sun goes out, leaving the world in an eternal rainstorm. But, to quote Kratos in regards to humans, "Let them suffer. The death of Zeus is all that matters," which happens to be especially ironic because he tries to stop Pandora from killing herself, because in protecting her he feels like he's redeeming himself for killing his daughter and she's like a daughter to him or something. I don't know, it's never really explained. Eventually, Pandora sacrifices herself to give Kratos the power to kill Zeus, but the power is not in the box. You stab Zeus and Gaia at the same time with the Blade of Olympus. But like the obnoxious king of the gods that Zeus is, he doesn't die and sends you into an eternal nightmare of the blood you have shed. But Pandora guides you and you discover the greatest power, hope. And with hope you realize that the power of forgiveness comes from within, and to be forgiven you must find the power to forgive yourself. Armed with these realizations, you forgive yourself of your past, and with hope you punch Zeus until the screen is covered in his blood. After this, Athena shows up and shows her true motives. She was using you to get the power of hope, which is the greatest power of all, and that's all she wants. This shows a sort of reoccurring theme, because all of the greater powers you run into are backstabbing and self-centered, which doesn't give any god a good reputation. Anyhow, Athena explains how when the evils were sealed within the box, she put the greatest weapon in with them, and when Kratos opened the box, the evils were released upon the gods, and Zeus succumbed to the greatest evil, fear, which is why he tried to kill Kratos. Kratos realizes how badly he destroyed the world, and in his final moments, kills himself and releases the greatest power to the world, and, much to Athena's dismay, not give it to her. This allows him to rest in peace, since he is forgiven of his past. That is, until the credits where you see a trail of blood from where he was lying dead to off a cliff, implying he's alive. This leaves us in a delicate situation. Okay, no it doesn't. It sucks and is depressing! Basically, all higher powers are useless betrayers, fear is the greatest evil in the world, humanity is not worth much, hope is the greatest power, and you are the only person who needs to forgive yourself because that person you transgressed isn't worth much anyway. Why should you be the only person who needs to forgive yourself if you did something to someone else? That makes about as much sense as a barking cat. The person you transgressed that means you did something bad to them, has to forgive you because that's how forgiveness works. All in all, this game has a problem of narcissism. You can kill random civilians, but killing your wife and daughter is a problem. The entirety of the game is based around your revenge, and anything is worth it, even humanity. As far as the Hope thing is concerned, in the original story, Hope was sealed in Pandora's box with the evils, and when they were released, Pandora slammed the lid on Hope because it was too slow. So the idea of Hope being in there is correct, which is a nice touch considering how they deviate from every other Greek story. None of the original heroes are heroic in any way. Rather than being heroic with a fatal flaw, they are flawed with trace amount of heroism. Without the heroism. Even the main character doesn't help this image. He flat out murders the people who are offering him the things he murders them for. This all sort of points to a postmodern no one is better than the other idea that leaves Gao in a total wreckage of meh. The only good aspect about the game is the gameplay, use of QuickTime events, and how pretty it is, but this doesn't excuse the fact that it has nothing good to say about humanity, God, or morality. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go burn down the developer's house and forgive myself of it.